welcome to the Story Apothecary, a podcast filled with healing and medicinal stories. My name is Nana Tomova, and I'm a traditional storyteller and a pharmacist, and stories are medicines which I dispense. In this podcast, you'll find my prescriptions of stories for the body, mind, heart, soul, and for the earth. So I invite you to join me as we enter the healing world of stories together. Hello and welcome to November for another story in the Story Apothecary. I hope that this episode finds you well and happy and content and somewhere warm. Perhaps you're having a walk, or perhaps you're by a fire, or having a warm cup of tea, or doing your craft or art, whatever it is you may be doing. I hope that you're well and happy. I'm recording this before I set to travel to a secret location that shall not be named, as I had to guess it for a group effort via a riddle. And it's year 2 of Wildwoods, an incredible course by invitation from a very special teacher called Shonali, who's a tradition bearer of oral traditional stories. And I'm very lucky and so excited to be going to spend a week delving deeper into stories and the magic and medicine they contain with a group of wonderful people. So that's where I am as I'm recording this. And I bring you a very special story today. It is a Bulgarian story called The Golden Maiden, Zlatното момиче. And it is probably Bulgaria's most famous traditional oral story. And it is in all storybooks, and every single person who is Bulgarian probably knows this story. And yet people talk about it as being a children's story. It's a funny thing with stories and how it is assumed they're for children. But as you may have gathered, this podcast is not for children. Children may listen to it in the background and reap the benefits and the medicine of these stories, but it is very much for adults. And so is this story. This story is a story of female initiation, of the woman's quest, of a feminine journey. It is something that I deeply care about, and I think it's incredibly important. And so I hope you enjoy listening to the Golden Maiden. And thank you very much to those who shared the podcast with their friends. I get messages from time to time of people thanking me, and it just warms my heart that somebody has discovered this. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Golden Maiden. Imalo jedno vreme. There was once upon a time a woman and a man, a wife and her husband, and they had a child, a daughter, a girl who they loved dearly. She was as beautiful as a wild flower growing in the forest. And when the child was but 7 years old, 7 summers old, her mother became gravely ill. And it was quite apparent after some time that she would not make it. And so she passed from this world unto the next. And the father and the daughter grieved so. 40 days and 40 nights passed. Food was shared with neighbours and friends. Words exchanged. Black was worn. And well, people began to tell the father, "You need to think about remarrying. Your daughter, she cannot live without a mother. You must take a wife again." And so he did. There were plenty of women in the village. He looked, and he picked a woman who was a widow herself. She had known grief. She had known sorrow. She had known love. And well, she had a daughter of her own, so surely she knew how to be a mother. It was a pragmatic decision, as marriage used to be in those days. Love, well, that was an extra that some were lucky enough to find within the contract of marriage. A wedding was had, and the new wife came into the house. She smiled, the sort of smile that does not reach the eyes, the sort of smile that stays in the second part of your face when she looked at the girl, at our girl, at her stepdaughter. Rage emanated. Her face hardened. Wrinkles from anger, like a ploughed field, would emerge on her forehead. And time passed, and well, she hid how she felt at the beginning, but she could only do it for so long, and she looked at her stepdaughter with such rage, such hatred in her heart, and she looked at her husband and said to him, "Machayoto chitame," she used to say to her husband, "take her out of my sight. But what am I still to do with her? She's so young and she can't look after herself. I don't care. Take her to the forest, drown her in the sea. I don't care. Mahaya utochitemi. And so one day an argument, the following day an argument, the father couldn't stand it any longer. And so he told his wife to bake a pitka, a round bread. And she did. But she didn't want to use her good flour on this good-for-nothing girl. And so she baked her a bread from white ash from the fireplace. And when it was ready, she gave it to her husband, and her husband put it in a bag over his back, took the girl, and they went walking. They walked far. They went to the forest. The girl so grateful to leave the house. Her little tender-skinned hand against her father's, hand in hand. It was good to leave the house. How long it'd been since there were just the two of them together, a walk outside, like the old times. She trusted her father. She did not know what was brewing inside. She did not know what was about to happen. She expected nothing. Trust and love was what she felt. They walked for a long time and they climbed up on a hill, up, until their hearts were beating from the rush of their feet, the rush of their blood. The girl felt her empty belly, and she looked up towards her father and asked if there was any food, any bread, something they can share and fill the void inside her stomach. And her father reached inside his knapsack and took the bread, the pitka that was baked by her stepmother. The girl reached out her hands, but instead of him passing the pitka to her, he rolled down the hill instead. And she watched it go, and he shouted at her, Tichei! Tichei Maukoto! Tichei Daechvanish! Run to catch it! And the girl started running and reached an old forest with ancient trees, and she ran in the bushes, and finally she took the pitka in her arms. Tate! Father! Tate! Kadesi tate! Tate! Tatko! Tatko! But her father had left her and gone home. And she got hungry and she broke off the bread and she realised it was made from ash and she couldn't eat. And she walked in the forest all day long looking for a path here, a path there. Path there was nowhere to be found. And it got dark. The sun began to set behind the ancient woods and darkness came in the forest. And if you've ever been in the forest in the middle of the night, you will know the forest sounds, the calls of the owls, the calls of the wolves, and the wild boars. Those night sounds can be terrifying. And so she sat on a stump and began to cry out loud. Now in this forest, in a little hut nearby, there lived an old woman. Baba, we'll call her. Grandmother, old woman, Baba. And this old woman heard the girl and she came out. Koi pulace. Who's crying? Koi pulace tam. Mumche ili mumichisi. Ako si mumiche e watuk. Ako si mumche mahise. Are you a girl or a boy? If you're a girl, come hither. If you're a boy, go thither. I'm a girl, Babbo. Come hither then, said the old hag, and she took her to her little house. And there she gave her food, and there she made her a warm, comfortable bed and put her down to sleep. And she went to sleep herself. In the morning, as the sun was rising, the girl got up and she cleaned the house and she tidied everything and she made breakfast for them both. And when the old hag got up, she looked at the house, she looked at the girl, she smiled, but said nothing. Then she announced she was going to go to the forest and pick mushrooms. In the basement, she said to the girl, in the basement, I have creatures, snakes and lizards. Feed them. Boil some bran for them and feed them. But fear not, they won't bite. And she left in the woods. And the girl, she made some bran and she boiled it. And then she waited for it to cool down and she went into the basement. And there were the snakes and the lizards. She saw them and with trepidation she went. She fed them gently, one by one, and she fed them sweetly until they were fed. And then there was still time and the old woman hadn't come back. And so she took little string and little leaves and little shells and little acorns from the forest and tied and decorated each one of their necks with a pretty necklace. Towards midday, the old woman came from the woods and the little creatures went to tell them what had happened. Babo! Babo! Babo, kako ni vrze grdančete, babo, kako ni vrze grdančete, gledaj, babo, gledaj! I baba šte vrže na kak grdanče. I baba will decorate the girl's neck, said the old woman. In the early afternoon, she took the girl to a nearby river, a magic river. She laid in the grass and told the girl, I'm going to go to sleep. I'd like you to sing me a song, for I can't sleep very well without being sung to. And this river, while I sleep, you must watch it. It's a magic river. It changes its colour every hour. First, the river will be blue. Then it will be red. Then it will be black. Don't wake me. Then it will be yellow. Then you must wake me. And she went to sleep. And the girl, she sang so quietly and so sweetly. Her song was like the hum of a bee. And as the grandmother slept, the girl looked at the river. Oh, it was blue. Blue like the forget-me-not. Oh, then it was red. Bright red. Like blood. And then it was black, like the black of a night. And then it was yellow. It was yellow and gold. She'd never seen such a bright river. It shone like the sun. Babo! Babo! Zabuzhday se! Babo! Zabuzhday se! cried the girl and shook the grandmother. The grandmother woke up, got the girl, dipped her inside the river and shouted, Fashtaj, babo, kvotu możesz, fashtaj! And the girl listened and she caught the first thing that she could and she brought it, and in her hands she had a little wooden chest. What's in the chest, Babo? Asked the girl. Ah, said the old woman. You must open the chest when you go home, not before. And she handed her a little golden key for the chest. And then she took the girl by the hand and took her out into the forest and showed her the path that she must take to go back home. And the girl walked. It was late afternoon when she came. And before she came in the house, everything became bright like the sun shone. Her stepmother looked and became green with envy. Her father asked, What's in the chest? Daughter, what's in the chest? And the daughter took the chest in the house, put her little key inside and opened it. And when she opened the cover, it was gold everywhere. stepmother, she couldn't contain her anger. I want my girl to have a chest like this, and I want my girl to brighten the house when she comes in. Bake me a pitka, said the man. And so the stepmother baked her own daughter a pitka. Oh, she took the most magnificent organic flour that she could find, and she baked her a beautiful pitka. And then the father took it and took the girl up to the hill, the same hill, and rolled it down the hill. Tichai chedo, tichai khvani pitka tak khvaniya. And the girl started running down the hill and finally caught the pitka. And she looked for her dad, but her father had long since disappeared and gone home. And then she began to cry as her sister had before. She cried loudly, and out from the hut emerged the old woman. Kaj plače? Momče ili momiče si? Ako si momiče, evo tukaj. Ako si momče, hodi si. Momiče sem, babo. I'm a girl, babo. Then come hither. And the woman took the girl into the house and gave her food to eat and made her a bed. And then she herself went to sleep. In the morning, the sun was quite high in the sky when the old hag arose from bed. And she saw the girl still sleeping and snoring loudly. She wasn't pleased. She frowned, but said nothing. She awoke the girl and told her, Asutivam's a gubby, I'm going for mushrooms. And you clean the house and then feed my creatures, snakes and lizards. But don't worry, they don't bite. And then she went into the forest. The girl started sweeping, but she forgot to sprinkle the stone floor with water, and dust went everywhere and covered everything. And then she boiled the bran, but didn't wait for it to cool down, so she gave it to all the creatures and burned their mouths and tongues. And then the grandmother came back from picking mushrooms, and she saw her whole house gathered in dust. She wasn't pleased. And then the creatures came to her and said, Babo, babo, kakani ubari, babo, koku puli, babo, babo, chki koku puli. And the grandmother said, I baba still bari kakavi, and grandmother will burn the girl. Midday passed. The old woman took the girl to the magic river, sat down on the river bank on the grass, and told her, Sing to me. For see, you know I can't sleep without being sung to. And so the girl started singing, but she sang so loudly and so badly that the woman had to say, Spri, I cannot sleep with this song. And so she told her about the colours of the river. First, it will be blue. Don't wake me. Then it will be red. Don't wake me. Then it will be yellow. Don't wake me. When the river becomes black, then you must wake me. And she fell asleep. And the girl watched the river blue, and then red, and then golden yellow. Ah, she said, look, it's like the sun. Wow. And she couldn't resist, and she dipped her pinky inside. Oh, look how it shines brightly. When she hit the reflection right, it was almost like her finger was made of gold. And then the river changed to black, black like the night. Babo, babo, se budise, babo, babo. And the grandmother took the girl and dunked her in the river and shouted, Funny babi kvotomoshish, fashte. And the girl took what she could in her hands, and when she emerged in the riverbank, she held a little wooden chest. And the grandmother gave her the key and sent her on the way home. Then as she walked, the girl noticed that it was dark. It was almost as she herself was causing the darkness, her shadow in front of her. She'd never noticed that before. And she walked. And then, as she reached home, she started shouting at her mother, "Mamo, Mamo! Heute vidiš, Mamo!" And her mother came, and her face fell in disgust, in horror. Wait a moment. What happened to you? Who did this to you? Why? But you're not like the girl. You don't shine like the sun. It was almost like a storm emanated from this being. She did not shine brightly. It was the opposite. There was a dullness to her. It was like the clouds followed her, like the storms followed her. Wherever she went, there was darkness. "She did this to you," said the woman. "She did this to you. She will pay. She will pay. At least let's open the chest, so that we have some gold and treasure." And as they opened the chest, there was no gold, no silver, no jewels, but snakes and lizards and frogs jumped out and went and followed them, slithering everywhere, and the whole family started screaming. Time went by, and the Golden Maiden that shone like the sun was not allowed out the house. But the other one, her stepsister, well, her mother was too ashamed to take her out. What would people say? Maybe she was possessed, maybe something else. She looked slightly strange. Not obvious, but But you know, people talk. And it wasn't long before the king heard of the Golden Maiden. And so he wanted to see. She was shown, and he was pleased. And he wanted her as a wife for his son, the prince. And it was arranged. Well, she thought that any home was better than the one that she lived in. But nobody asked her opinion, of course. But the wedding was planned, and a day was agreed upon. But the mother had other plans. She planned to marry her own daughter, you see. And her little pinky that shone like the sun when it hit the light like a golden finger was going to do a trick. And so they put the veil on the girl that brought the lizards home. And when the king came and the prince came on the horse to take the bride, she was already veiled, and they said it was bad luck for a groom to see the bride on the day of the wedding. But she showed the little finger underneath the wedding gown, and the prince was pleased. As for the Golden Maiden, well, she was hidden under a trough, not allowed to come out. She'd be beaten after that, but at least the woman's own daughter would get married, and when he took her back home, it would be too late to give her back then. And as the wedding party were about to leave the house, the cockerel shouted, "Kukurigu! Zlatna kaka pod kuritu, černa kaka pod venčilu, kukurigu!" Golden Maiden is under the trough, and the wrong daughter is under the bridal gown, the cockerel called. "Oh, this mad cockerel," said the stepmother. "He's gone crazy today. Don't listen to him." "Kukurigu," carried on the cockerel. "Zlatna kaka pod koritu, černa kaka pod venčilu, kukurigu." "But what is under the trough?" said the king, and he ordered, and his servants went and lifted the trough, and indeed there was a girl hunched in a ball, and everybody gasped as the whole room became light as if the sun had risen itself, and the girl that shone like the sun was taken as a wife, and a bridal veil was put on her. And she did not shine like a sun just on the outside, but on the inside too, and she was happy, her life better than it had been since her own mother was alive. She became a queen one day, a queen that knew justice, and knew the importance of the darkness of the forest, knew what happens in those huts, knew the gifts of the rivers, knew the importance of darkness as well as light, and she reigned well, and the people in that kingdom were happy. Whereas for the other girl, the Golden Maiden's stepsister, and her mother, well, I wish I could tell you that that girl knew the gift that she was given, for sometimes darkness is a gift. To be submerged in a river, the colour of a shadow, the colour of midnight, is a gift. To know darkness brings its own treasure. Light always follows dark. There cannot be a bright day without a dark night. And the Golden Maiden knew this, but her stepsister, she was yet to learn that lesson. The gold and the alchemy can tell you how old the story is. Gold was what they wanted to achieve through alchemy. I love that story. It is a type of Cinderella story. And there are many versions of this particular one across Bulgaria. I've come across 7 different versions. And I love the old woman, the hag, as she is sometimes called. Like that's a bad thing. The old woman who knows. She knows the importance of initiation. And she initiates girls. Boys, they have their own initiations somewhere else. That is why she only brings girls in. She knows, in the basement where the lizards and the snakes live. She knows that river, water, the body of water, which is when it's crossed, or when one dives inside, they no longer come the same. It is a threshold between two worlds, two spaces. It changes colour. It brings the darkness when the darkness is needed. And the main heroine, the main character, she has known darkness for many years. You don't survive the death of your mother. You don't survive the abuse, the neglect in a family home without knowing darkness. Oh, she's a friend of the night. She's a friend of the darkness of the forest, thick and frightening. And so the old woman sees this. She makes necklaces to all the little creatures. She sees the treasure in each of them. Such tenderness for those which are kicked and hated. And so she's ready for gold. She's ready to shine. But a stepsister, she has not known darkness. She has never taken the invitation to know darkness. And so the old woman sees this too. And there are ways to go into quests. There are ways to fall into initiation. Some are planned. Some are gentle. Some you just fall into without even knowing. This is the latter. If she is lucky, she will wake up and see the gift that has been bestowed upon her. Darkness can be a gift, but not many will. And so those two sisters show us what it is to know darkness and emerge from the other side. You have to go through it. Have to go through the forest to the other end, through the river to the other side, through the hut, and emerge whole, but not the same. And this is why this story is so powerful. And the cockerel knows. The cockerel calls out the bullshit. Loudly, clearly, in the dawn of the day. The cockerel knows. Not a story for children. A powerful story about finding gold, the end of a quest. And so I hope this story has brought you treasure and you've enjoyed it. Not a light story, but it does carry lightness. It's the sort of story that you come back to time and time again, sometimes years in between. The sort of story that is good to talk to friends about or to like-minded people about, which is what this podcast is really for. And so I hope to be able to facilitate those conversations. I've been quietly planning in the background, and I hope that from the new year in 2023, I'll be able to offer a space once a month for free to come and discuss stories from this podcast. It will be open to anybody who's a Patreon first and anybody who's on my newsletter list. So if you're interested, keep an ear close. Until then, may you find the gifts in the darkness that sometimes comes before we're ready. Sometimes you have to dig deep to find them. And may the light find you. Sometimes it's already in there, waiting to rise, like the sun from the eastern horizons. Have a wonderful month. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to In Feathers for the music.